The Queen has honoured a Sri Lankan and we are very proud. When the Queen's birthday honours list was announced this year, one of those among them was Sri Lankan Shanika Amarasekera, General Counsel to the board at the British Business Bank, who led the creation and launch of the Future Fund as part of the Chancellor's response to the COVID crisis. Her MBE is a reflection of her leadership in the Future Fund and other projects, being in the original management team launching British Business Bank, as a board member at Queen Elizabeth II's Olympic Park and London Stadium, balancing the integration of some of the poorest parts of London with the legacy of the Olympics, and starting a dialogue on gender and minority issues, for which she was recognised among the top 100 ethnic minority business leaders in the UK. This is among numerous other awards she has received. But here's the thing, Shanika is Sri Lankan through and through. Having schooled in Colombo, she went to the University of Colombo and Sri Lanka Law College, studied SEMA, worked at a radio station for a short time, and holds fast to her Sri Lankan attorney at law status. I caught up with her on a Zoom chat and asked her what this MBE means to her.
It's a real honour to be recognised in this way, and I'm genuinely delighted that the work I've been doing in the UK to support the economy and businesses is seen as being valuable.
Having gone to school and university here, Sri Lanka Law College, and even worked a little bit in broadcast journalism before moving on to England, has being Sri Lankan shaped the way you think and act, in fact the way you work?
Being Sri Lankan is very much part of my identity, and so the answer to that question has to be yes. I grew up in Sri Lanka, and my values and beliefs are heavily informed by what I learnt growing up in Sri Lanka. My core values are to be curious about and interested in everything around me, and learn from everything I see and experience. And this is something that I learnt while growing up in Sri Lanka and witnessing life around me while at school at St Bridget's Convent, at Law College, and at University in Colombo, and while working in journalism as well. And another core value for me is compassion. And again, this is heavily influenced by growing up in Sri Lanka and how society in Sri Lanka behaves, and embedding Buddhism and its principles in my life.
You've done considerable work breaking down barriers when it comes to ethnic minorities and gender issues. What tangible results in these areas have you seen due to the work you have done?
When I started life working in the UK at a law firm and then at an investment bank, I often used to find myself as the only woman in the room, and even more often as the only person from an ethnic minority background. And it was those experiences and seeing how decisions were being made by a very non-diverse group of people, largely a room full of middle-aged white men, that made me want to try and shift the dial on diversity issues and really make decision-making a more diverse process, because I truly believe that decision-making has to be done by people who are representative of the society that those decisions are going to affect. And that wasn't my experience of what was happening, and I thought it was really important to try and bridge that gap, and I wanted to do something about it. So I think it's really positive to see that at least the dialogue around diversity and including women and including ethnic minorities in the decision-making process and influencing the debate and the dialogue has now entered the mainstream. It's definitely a long way away from being a complete successful end result, but it's important that the conversation continues and that everyone continues to work towards a more inclusive society where decisions are being made by diversity of thought.
The Future Fund, starting off Britain's first domestic development bank, where you are now head counsellor, but would soon be head of strategy, policy and economics, balancing communities in and around the QE Park and London Stadium with the legacy of the Olympics, your work with ethnic minorities and gender issues, etc. What single most strength can you identify in yourself that led you to execute these projects successfully?
It's so easy, isn't it, to believe that the world is against you and that you will never succeed. But I've learnt that it's really important to stay positive, actually. And there just isn't any point in listening to negativity about how many different ways there are that you can fail at things. And I've always believed that anything is possible. And if you work hard and listen to people with an open mind, you can achieve many great things.
Has being Sri Lankan been an advantage or a disadvantage to you?
Firstly, I have to say that when I started off in life working, I don't think I often worried about whether I was starting off as being advantaged or disadvantaged by virtue of being Sri Lankan, because I think it's so key to being part of my identity, and my outlook tends to be one of positivity and optimism generally. I will admit, though, that on reflecting back, and even at the time, it was quite obvious to me that the world isn't a level playing field. And when I started off working in London, it was very clear to me that I was starting the race that we were about to start off in our careers and in life, several meters behind my colleagues and peers who were British and had grown up in the UK. But what I think I've done successfully is embraced being different, and used that to my advantage to allow me to succeed. My stories of growing up in Sri Lanka and the experiences that I had are often more interesting than my colleagues who've grown up in the UK, and I've used those to my advantage. You've got to learn to turn your disadvantages into advantages, but while doing that, also not forget where you came from as you succeed in life, and really try and create a more level playing field for the future for others to follow.
What would you say to young Sri Lankans, those who sometimes feel that they don't have the skills or the knowledge or even the opportunity? How are they to move ahead?
Start from a position of positivity. If you believe in yourself, then anything truly is possible. But while doing that, don't be naive and assume that everything will always go your way. Build resilience. We all fail at things. We can't be good at everything. And when you do fail, learn from those failures and don't let them hold you back. Pick yourself up and try again. We can't be good at everything, so learn what you're good at and play to your strengths. And probably lastly, but probably most importantly, seek out mentors and sponsors in life. There are plenty of people who will help you if you ask. And likewise, if people ask you for help, always try and accommodate it.
Positivity and optimism is Shanika's recipe for her achievements. And the underlying ethos in all she says is that once you have set your mind to something, go ahead and do it. Each step is a learning experience. Thank you, Shanika, for joining us from London on Ceylinco Live. Let's talk.
With Ceylinco Life Pension Saver, Sri Lanka's premier retirement plan, start planning for your retirement today. Ceylinco Life, a relationship for life.